Auburn versus Maryland Music City Bowl predictions.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and also video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com. But thank you all for making us part of your day, and we're one day away from the big game of the year, Maryland's bowl game against Auburn in the Music City Bowl. And I know these bowl games have seemed like they've gotten less and less important, but for a program like Maryland, this game seems really important to us, even though we kind of treat it still as a preseason game for next year and plenty of players opt out. This is our championship, and this is our huge game of the year. And we've won 2 straight bowl games, so we put in a lot of thought, we put in a lot of prep and a lot of care into these bowl games. This means something for the Maryland Terrapins, and I think it means a lot to Auburn too, even though I know they got a lot of recruiting going on and there's a lot of excitement around that program. I do think this bowl game is one of the more important bowls so far in all the bowl rotations and all the bowls that you see this year. But I went on and did my research and was thinking about my game, and I came away with one key that I think will win this game and will be the deciding factor of this game. I think it's running the football. Running the football, I think, will decide how this game goes, whether it's an Auburn win, whether it's a Maryland win. I think running the football is going to be really important in this game against Auburn. Let me tell you why. Let me get into it. So we think about the quarterback battle. That's what you kind of think of first when you think of any football game. You're going to talk about the 2 quarterbacks. Those are going to be the 2 most talked about guys in this game. And even more so for Maryland, the fact that we don't have our quarterback in Taulia Tagovailoa is out. Of course, he opted out, and we don't really know what his next plans are, if he's going to try and transfer somewhere as a grad student or what, if he's going to declare for the NFL draft. We don't know, and that's a topic for a separate day. But you talk about the quarterback battle. And when I think about Peyton Thorne at Auburn, and I think of Billy Edwards, who's supposed to start, but Cameron Edge, this redshirt freshman, is also expected to see some time for the Terps. And I think of what Billy Edwards and what Peyton Thorne, Auburn's quarterback, does well. It's about the run game. Think about it. If you guys saw the Iron Bowl, Auburn versus Alabama, probably the best game of the year, in my opinion. That game was awesome. You guys know that Auburn and Alabama play every year in the Iron Bowl, and it's the last game of the season, and it's really important. Auburn, Alabama, same state, really important game. And if you see all the game, Auburn sold that game. Auburn should have won that game. They had it in their hands. They had multiple chances to get it. You talk about the 4th, and I don't even know what it was. 4th and what, 30 or 25 or whatever it is, and them converting on that, for Alabama to convert on that on their last chance, and then Auburn also to fumble the Alabama punt when they were up and there was low time left. Those 2 things happened. Auburn should have won that game. If one of those things doesn't happen, Auburn wins that game. And those were absolute prayers from Alabama. And I think Alabama might be the best team in the country, and Auburn almost beat them. But if you think about Auburn beating Alabama, that they should have won the game, what would you expect? You would think that Peyton Thorne did some things against Alabama in the passing game, at least somewhat, maybe passed for like 200 yards and a touchdown or 2. That's what you would think would have happened in a game where they were in the game against Alabama and arguably should have won the game. But no, it wasn't about that for Peyton Thorne. It hasn't been about the passing game all year for Peyton Thorne. Auburn's identity is running the football, and Thorne went 5 for 16 for 91 yards against Alabama in a game that they should have won. In a game that they should have won. They didn't need a big performance out of their quarterback. They didn't need him to throw for 300 yards against Alabama's defense. If you look at other teams, like if you think about LSU, if LSU was going to beat Alabama, Jaden Daniels was going to have to throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns. But Auburn was able to manage that game, manage the clock, play solid defense, and Peyton Thorne only had to throw for 91 yards. And even though they didn't win the game, they should have won the game. And on the season, he's passed for 1,671 yards, which isn't a lot at all. 15 touchdowns, but 520 yards rushing. Rushing is the key to this game. If you're going to allow Peyton Thorne to rush the ball and get outside the pocket, I think Auburn has a good chance. And then when we think about what Billy Edwards does well, who's supposed to start for Maryland with Talia opting out, when you think of Billy Edwards, what do you think of? You think about his legs. Maryland likes to use him in packages with his legs. He's 6'3", he's big. He has some of that, I like to say some of that Josh Allen. No, he's nowhere near what Josh Allen is as a player or a talent, but he has some of that ability to open things up just because of his legs. That's his number one strength, I'd say right now, in Billy Edwards. We brought him in certain packages to run the ball, whether it's 4th and short, 3rd and short. He was often in those games because of what he can do with his legs. And he's hard to bring down because he's a big guy. So when I think about the two quarterbacks and how their strengths line up with each other, both of their strengths, I think right now, are running the football. And I didn't really think this about Peyton Thorne before he got to Auburn. I didn't see much of that at Michigan State. Obviously, he could run, but when we played him at Michigan State, it was never like, oh, like, we got to stop his legs. I think that's something that Auburn's kind of brought out. But when I think about the two quarterbacks, I'm not worried so much about the passing game with Auburn. I don't think they have the guys on the outside to just pass the ball against us. And then I also don't think Peyton Thorne has done that this year. I don't think I'm worried. And they have an opt-out in the wide receiver room, I think, or a guy that hit the portal. So when I think about what Auburn does well versus what Billy Edwards does well without Talia, I think about the run game. And like I said, I want to keep piggyback on this about Talia Tagovailoa not playing. I want to piggyback off of it. The run game is going to be so important because you thought about our identity the entire year. It was passing the ball. So we have to flip the switch. We got to turn the light off and turn on to something else. Turn the TV onto a different channel with Billy Edwards starting because we led the Big Ten in passing attempts with Talia. All we would do is throw the ball, but it's got to be completely different. We're not going to be able to throw the ball 40 times in a game or 38 with Billy Edwards. That's just not what you're going to do. So if Talia played, I would not have said that the run game was the most important thing. I don't think that would have been the deciding factor in the game. But with Talia not playing in this game, how well can Maryland move the ball without Talia? I think you have to ask yourself, is Billy Edwards going to be able to throw the ball to these receivers like that? So I'm looking at Roman Hemby and I'm looking at Colby McDonald for us. I think they're huge keys to this game. And I think if you look at the Auburn's running back, Jarquez Hunter, he really good player, led Auburn in rushing, 146 carries, 865 yards with a 5.9 average. They're really excited about this kid, Hunter. So, and you compare him to what Roman Hemby and Colby McDonald did, we need our running backs to outplay Hunter. And a big part of that's going to be up front, whether it's Auburn's defensive line versus Maryland's offensive line or Maryland's offensive line versus Auburn's defensive line. It's going to be this game is going to be huge up front. And if you look at it, we have big-time players in our receiving room that I'll talk about later. But how well can Billy Edwards really get them the ball? I don't know because he hasn't had to do it all year. He hasn't played a ton. I haven't seen it. So the first time without Talia, I think we hand it off a lot more than we normally do. I think we hand it off to Hemby a lot. I think Colby McDonald's going to get a lot of carries. I think some other younger guys could get some carries. So overall, when I think about what Auburn does well and them having their star running back in Jarquez Hunter in this game and Peyton Thorne using his legs all year and not really throwing the ball a ton, and how Peyton Thorne has played against bigger opponents like Alabama, and for pretty much everyone, he hasn't thrown the ball a lot. So overall, I think this game is about the run game. Like I said, with Talia out, it does make it a little bit different. If he played, I think Maryland would have been able to throw the ball all over the place. But Auburn definitely has some solid dudes up front. So we'll see if Maryland's going to be able to run the ball. But I think this game will be decided by the run game. I don't just think it's a key to the game. I don't just think it's one thing. I think this game is decided by the run game. Who wins this game? Who wins the running category? I almost can guarantee. I can see it already. Whoever outrushes the other opponent is going to win this game. This game isn't about Maryland throwing the ball all over the place. That's not what this game is about. And maybe Billy Edwards will prove me wrong and do that, but I really think whoever we're looking at between Peyton Thorne and Billy Edwards and the running backs between Hunter and then our two guys and McDonald and Hemby, when we add up those rushing yards, whoever outrushes the other, I think we'll win this game. Could I be wrong? Absolutely, yes. But I think the run game is so important without Taulia in this game. Can we do it? We've done it at times this year. We haven't done it at times this year. We have no Antoine Littleton, which is also interesting now. But I think that matters less with Billy Edwards. Let me tell you why. Because Billy Edwards is that short yardage guy. You talk about QB draws, you talk about QB sneaks and QB runs and read options on 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. You think about Billy Edwards and short yardage is perfect for the Terps, and I think we'll be better in short yardage than we were with Taulia because you didn't really use Talia's legs much. He's a smaller guy. You're not going to sneak it with him. I think will be better. And Antoine Littleton, you think about for a lot of his career, has been the short yardage guy. So I think with Billy Edwards at quarterback, the Antoine Littleton loss is actually not as important as I don't think it will have very much effect. I think that Hemby and Chloe McDonald will do a perfectly fine job in the backfield. But can we run the ball? That's going to be the question. But whoever runs the ball better, I say wins this game. But let me tell you what I actually predict, what I think actually will happen in this game after this ad from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. How does this game go down? Who wins? Let me get into it. I'm going to be honest. I think Auburn wins this game. Let me tell you, because I'm thinking about it and I'm like, what do we look like without Taulia? Okay, we played a couple of games last year without him, but we didn't play any games this year without him. And I'm unsure of how it looks. And that's the biggest question mark around the Maryland football program, especially going into next year. I know we got MJ Morris in the portal and Billy Edwards was the backup this year and Cameron Edge. We'll see how that quarterback room looks. But the biggest question around Maryland football and Coach Loxley, honestly, can we maintain this success without Taulia? Because our success came when Taulia came. When Taulia transferred from Alabama to Maryland, that's when we started to see winning seasons and winning records and Coach Loxley look a lot better. Can he win without Taulia? Can we win without Taulia? I don't know. And I don't know if we can. And Auburn was a favorite with or without Taulia. And now Vegas added 5 more points to Auburn when Taulia said he was opting out. At first it was Maryland +2 and Auburn -2. Now it is Auburn -7 and, of course, Maryland +7. So the line has just gone up since Taulia hasn't played. So clearly Vegas is thinking the same thing as me, that Taulia's worth 5 points in this game and that we don't think Maryland's nearly as good without Taulia. And it makes sense. He's the all-time Big Ten passing leader. It would make sense for us to be worse without him, and I think we are. I think we have to play a different brand that we haven't played, and it doesn't match up to our strength. I think our strength is our guys outside, and I think that's how we were going to beat Auburn. I think we were better outside. If you look at the receiving stats, their leading receiver this year had 349 yards. Our 3 leading wide receivers this year, and Jayshon Jones had 747 yards. Ty Felton had 723 yards, and Caden Prather had 609 yards. So basically, 3 of our guys had double their amount of yards, and even more had more than 349 yards. But that strength really kind of neutralizes ourselves in our advantage that I think we had in the passing game. I think it neutralizes itself, and I don't see it as much of a strength with Billy Edwards at quarterback because Billy Edwards is more of a running quarterback. So I'm looking at this game and I have to pick Auburn to win because I think it matches what their strength is. They've been a running team all year. That's how they've won games, and they're used to playing that identity. Maryland's been a passing team all year. We've passed the ball a ton. We led the Big Ten in passing attempts. So I look at this game and I say Auburn definitely has the advantage overall against us. But I think what's the turning point in this game? What really is going to make the difference? I think how both of these teams react and how they play without the opt-outs. I think that's a big part of these bowl games is how teams play without the opt-outs. If you're not playing in the college football playoff, which of course is being extended next year, which is really exciting for college football overall and the sport. But if you're not playing in the playoff, you're going to have a bunch of opt-outs. We see this with Georgia playing Florida State. Florida State's whole team basically opted out. We see it with everyone. Ohio State, name a team, they're going to have opt-outs in a normal bowl game. And this game is no different. Maryland has a bunch of opt-outs and a bunch of guys that hit the portal. How are you going to react? And how are players going to step up for both teams? One of Auburn's key cornerbacks, DJ James, in their secondary, opted out of this game. Can Maryland take advantage of that? Can Billy Edwards and our receivers? With Talia, I would say we definitely can take advantage with the couple of opt-outs Auburn has in their secondary. I would say we definitely would be able to. But can we take advantage of Billy Edwards? I think he's fully capable. I think he's got a strong arm, and I've seen some flashes. And then I also want to make sure to add Cameron Edge in here because Cameron Edge is going to play in this game too. Can we take advantage with those two quarterbacks who haven't really played all year, haven't gotten a chance to really get their feet wet at all this year? Can we take advantage of Auburn having guys out in the secondary? How will Auburn play? How will their young corners play? I think that's a big part of this game. And Maryland also has Tarheeb still out in the secondary. Can Auburn take advantage? I think that's what I'm basing my predictions off of. And I think the opt-outs are somewhat kind of even in this game. I think because I just think that, or it's not even. I almost, not including Talia, I would say it's somewhat even, but including Talia, I think just Auburn having their quarterback and Peyton Thorne that they've used all year, and maybe he's not like amazing, maybe he's not one of the best players in the country, but us opting out our star and the best Maryland quarterback of all time, it gives them advantage in that category of how our team will react to players opting out. I think it gives them the complete advantage in that category. And that's what I think these bowl games are about. I think it's about, obviously, whatever the keys are to the game. Like I said, the run game is a key, but maybe the biggest part is how you're going to react, how players are going to step up, how well you've recruited down the line, how well your depth is overall, because you're going to have guys that are in the portal. You're going to have guys that are opting out for the NFL draft. You're going to have guys that are injured, possibly, even though there's been a lot of time between games. So I really think that's the number one key to this game. And I don't have confidence in Talia overall and Talia opting out for us to react greater than Auburn's going to react to their opt-outs. I think Auburn has the advantage there, and I think that's a big part of what these bowl games are. Is how do you react with the opt-outs? And I think Auburn has the advantage in that category because their quarterback's playing and our quarterback's not. And sure, they have other impact opt-outs, but so do we. You talk about a guy like Corey Dyches. He's opted out. You talk about Tarheeb Still. He's opted out. So we have guys that have opted out that are really important. Corey Dyches brought that matchup nightmare from the tight end spot and really gave us an advantage coming from there. How well will Preston Howard step up into that role? I think Preston Howard will do it. I think Preston Howard's really talented, and I think he can. But how well will he be now that he's the tight end one in the spot? And teams are going to be really game planning for him overall. So that's why I think Auburn will win this game, but I think it'll be close. I think Maryland covers the spread. I don't think this will be a blowout at all. I think Maryland will make its plays, but I think we'll be able to do some things against Auburn to keep it close. This Auburn team is good, but I don't want to act like they're the best team in the country. They're definitely beatable for sure. But I definitely think we cover the spread. I definitely think Maryland can win this game, but I'm going to pick Auburn to win. But I think we cover the 7 points overall, mainly because of the opt-out of Talia Tagovailoa. It's just too big of an opt-out to ignore overall. But I hope Billy Edwards proves me wrong. Maryland basketball had a game last night. Let's get into that. How well did they play? How well did they play without our star player? Do I feel more confident? I'll talk about that after this ad from PrizePicks. Testing my skills on PrizePicks this football season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you could turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege for a first-time deposit. Maryland basketball got a big win last night in their final tune-up against Coppin State. They played without Jameer Young, which I actually think helps the Terps. Jameer Young was sick last night. He was on the bench. He's going to be perfectly fine. And you don't wish anyone to miss a game. You don't wish anyone to be sick. But I think this helped Maryland basketball. What did I say before this game? We were way too Jameer Young dependent. And that Coppin State team we played last night was pretty bad. They were pretty terrible. There's no other way around it. They weren't a good team. And I think they moved to 1-13 now. They're a bad team overall. But Maryland playing without Jameer Young forced other players to step up, forced Deshaun Harris-Smith to handle a lot of the playmaking, a lot of the guard roles, forced Jahari Long, which I want to talk about him, Jahari Long to start and play really well. But let's get right into Jahari Long since I mentioned him. Jahari Long is the most underrated player on this team. Jahari Long could easily be a starter. I was talking about this a little bit, and I was thinking about it. Deshaun Harris-Smith, really talented player, is going to be awesome. However long he's with the Terps, he's going to be an awesome player, and he's going to be probably a starter from when he's a freshman to when he leaves, whatever his next step is as a player. But Jahari Long and Deshaun Harris-Smith, there's not a gap to me there. I really don't see a gap. I think they're basically similar in terms of how they are right now. And I might give Jahari Long the edge a little bit. Jahari Long has been playing way too good for me to ignore. He had 15 points last night and 4 assists and shot the 3-ball well. He's been shooting the 3-ball solidly. He's not like an amazing shooter, but he can create shots. He's someone out of Jameer Young that can get his own shot. Obviously, he can't do it as well as Jameer Young, and he's not like an elite shot getter, but he does some really good things, and he's been shooting the ball well. He can definitely shoot it. So Jahari Long is going to be a key this year, and he was forced to step up, and Coach Willard, the commentators were saying that Coach Willard has said that he wants Jahari Long to be aggressive. And I've said this on this podcast too. We need him to be aggressive off the bench. We need him to be that guy. He looks more like my sixth man to me now, the guy off the bench. I really do think he could easily be a starter on this team. I continue to see him play well in spots. I continue to see him be able to get to the rim well. And I know Deshaun Harris-Smith is going to be an awesome player, but he's definitely made some youth mistakes. And you saw it last night with turnovers, shot making. There's definitely a youth factor in Deshaun Harris-Smith where Jahari Long, it's a little bit more steady in my opinion. And so I don't mind him coming off the bench, but I do think he could easily be a starter for this team. And also Julian Reese got back on track. Extremely important after that abysmal performance against UCLA. Julian Reese was able to look a lot better last night, but he had 18 and 10, but it's against Coppin State. I need to see him do something against Purdue and Zach Edey. How well can he perform in that game overall? We'll see, but we'll talk about that. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. But thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.